Yeah, I'm interested in just seeing how they defend Tennessee, how that style translates if they get in trouble. I mean, because you saw, I mean, Nick Saban, the best defensive coaches of all time. Those first 2 years, and even really maybe the first 2.5 years that he played against Tennessee, he had no answer really for stopping the offense until the second half last season against Tennessee in Tuscaloosa. When I don't know what happened with Tennessee in that second half, they should have won that game. They didn't. But based on the first half, they were doing what they wanted to with the ball. 2022, they scored 52 points. Even in 21, they were hitting some big shots, and they were in that game in the fourth quarter and put up a lot of points. It can be a really tough defense to defend if you're not used to it. And also, I feel like maybe Tennessee will try to reach out and do a little inside information on how to beat Ohio State. They've got some connections on that Michigan staff. I don't know how beneficial that stuff is, but
Maybe
anything
give Connor a ring. Say,
yeah,
hey,
well, I'm
Connor.
sure he'd be more than willing to help to see Ohio State lose. I wouldn't.
No doubt.
I'd take his call. But you've got, Tennessee's linebackers coach from last year that had a good relationship with the staff, Brian G. Marie, that wasn't really looking to leave, but he's got a close relationship with the head coach at Michigan, Sharon Moore, who has got connections to Josh Heupel and Joey Hosley. They were at Oklahoma together in 2006 and 2007. So there's some connections there. There's some relationships there that you can reach out and be like, hey, what have you seen that this team does? What kind of tells do they have on offense and defense? Is there anything at all that we can use? And anyone from Michigan badly wants to see Ohio State lose. I mean, it's good for Michigan. It's good for recruiting. They're going after a lot of the same players there. It feels like somebody said in the comments earlier. I think it was Elias. I'm not sure. This is the one matchup that it feels like more fans around the country are in Tennessee's corner because everybody wants to see Ohio State lose, which is wild. I didn't realize there was that much disdain for Ohio State kind of nationwide. Maybe it's because there's so many ex-Michigan, former Michigan graduates that are in media, and maybe that's part of it. We hear them a little bit louder than some of the other people, but it definitely seems like this is the one time that's like, yeah, we're all pulling for Tennessee in this one. Don't let us down.
I'm tripping on this a lot, but I feel like this really is the case for everybody in the SEC. I think everybody in this league views Ohio State as they're just kind of born with a silver spoon in their mouth where, I've looked at Tennessee over the last 15 years. And I went, if Tennessee played in the Big Ten, they would have won 9 games every single year in the Big Ten, even during those dark days. Like those teams would have been talented enough. If it was the same exact roster and coaches and everything that Tennessee had, they would have been like a 9-win team in the Big Ten during those years. And I feel like we all look at Ohio State and just go like, okay, yeah, you're in the playoff, but when you actually show up, you never win. And I guess they did that year with Urban.
Yeah. And they could. I mean,
they could.
It really is coaching. I mean, they should have probably won a couple. They should have beat Georgia 2 years ago. And Marvin Harrison getting hurt really did Georgia a favor there, because I feel like that game was definitely going Ohio State's way, and that was a good Georgia team. But it feels like the coaching has let them down, and Ohio State can go out and get almost whoever they want. I mean, it's a great job. You recruit well there. It's kind of like when Kirby took over Georgia. You just need somebody to get you over the hump. I don't know who that person would be, but if they did move on from Day and hired somebody, that's a instantly dangerous. I mean, they're dangerous now. I mean, they're a few wins away from winning a championship if they can get it together. It can be a juggernaut there, but I feel like Ryan Day is definitely what's held them back these last few years. Yeah. And at this point, if they do lose, I don't know if they fire him. I don't know his buyout situation or what they would actually do at this point in college football. Though I wouldn't put anything off the table. Once you've seen Bill Belichick go to North Carolina and some of the other crazy moves that have happened over the last few years, I feel like anything's on the table and anything's possible. But it would be a pretty big move to fire a guy that made the playoff.
I do think. Did I see that Day got the dreaded vote of confidence? I think with the AD,
which is just for recruiting purposes, always, no matter where it's at.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that almost makes me think more that if he loses this game, he's going to be
often, yeah.
It really does mean that a lot of the time. But we do have to get to this so that we can move on to a little bit transfer portal in the show, a little bit of basketball, because they had an amazing game against Illinois. We got to talk about it. Call it, Zach. We've talked all about the matchup. Now, great defenses, suspect offenses. It's going to be cold. How are you feeling about this one, Zach?
Oh, I mean, the anxiety is going to be at max at Saturday by 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll be really nervous, even though lots of people have said Tennessee's playing with house money in this. I mean, Tennessee doesn't view it that way. Josh Heupel shot that down real quick, but I think fans feel that way. You lose this game in Columbus, it's like, yeah, that's tough. It's a tough draw. You made the playoff, though. Lane Kiffin's sitting at home. Kalen DeBoer sitting at home. Eli Drinkwitz, Shane Beamer, they're all preparing for bowl games that they don't really want to go to, and you're in the playoff. You're in the mix. So it's a great season for Tennessee no matter what, especially when you consider they had a redshirt freshman quarterback, beating Alabama, beating Florida, and winning some big games for them. So, yeah, the pressure does obviously feel like it's on Ohio State in this one. With that said, man, it's on the road. It's going to be it's Ohio State's house. They're coming off that Michigan loss. I think the players really want to win this game on both sides, but I think Ohio State, the bad vibes around the program, around Ryan Day, I think the players will probably be able to overcome that. I mean, just they probably don't care that much about that stuff. They just want to win the national championship. That's why they're there. I think it's going to be a really, really close game, fairly low scoring, but I mean, I just can't trust Tennessee on the road yet. They haven't shown me that they can win a big game on the road yet. I mean, I know they had that Oklahoma win, and that was a big win, but that wasn't a very good Oklahoma team. You haven't been able to win at Florida against not great Florida teams. You've had good halves against Alabama and Georgia, but you haven't played a complete game. So until they do it, I just can't believe it. So I think Ohio State wins like 24-20. I think it's pretty close.
24-20, Ohio State. Very, very fair. Ohio State winning this game is probably the more quote-unquote likely outcome. They're going to be a heavy favorite. I think everybody's going to choose them to win this game. Kind of to what I was saying earlier with their fans. I don't think it's crazy for them to think, oh, I'll save my money here and then maybe take a trip to Pasadena next week or something like that. And I saw this get brought up, that the last time that Ohio State lost to Michigan and then played an SEC team in the playoff, it was that Georgia game. It was the very first time that it was 4 years ago, if I'm thinking correctly, the very first time that Day lost to Michigan, and now he's on this streak that has their fans hating him. But they lost. They still lost that game, but they did come out with their hair on fire. I remember thinking before that Georgia game, oh, Georgia's going to come out here and run these boys out of the gym.
Like, yeah, I had that feeling too.
Yeah, I remember distinctly thinking that. I do think Ohio State will come out. Oh, it was 2022. Sorry, not 4 years ago. Whatever.
So it was in Harrison's the middle. A rookie right now in the NFL. So
that's true. Yeah. If Marvin Harrison was on that team. But so it was two years ago. Still early on in the streak of losses to Michigan.
Yeah.
Where you weren't sure. I mean, you remember in 2021, like Harbaugh was on death's door as far as Michigan goes. Like,
that 2020 season was not great for Michigan, right? The COVID year? Yeah, he had a rough go.
It was dicey. And then Michigan is turning the corner at that point. It wasn't the same as it is now. This year just feels so much more backbreaking. I mean, it was just brutal. You're 21-point favorite at home. Like all of these things that were stacked up in your favor, and you still blow it. And it's Ryan Day's fault. And this guy is already kind of getting on your nerves, and you just, he can't beat. He's not winning in the playoffs. He's not beating Michigan. What are we even doing here? I tell you about Zen Sports. Zen Sports just picked their grand prize winner for the November Big Game Sweepstakes, and they are running it back this December with the Big Game Sweepstakes College Edition. This time, instead of going for the big game, the pros, They're giving you a chance to go for the very first big game in the new college football tournament. There's a grand prize of $10,000 cash and 2 tickets to the biggest college football game of 2025. You know, it's the one in Atlanta. And the ability to earn entries on every bet you place in December. It doesn't get better. If you don't win the grand prize, don't worry. You'll also have a shot to win 10 smaller prizes that grant you $1,000 towards any college football playoff game. So what are you waiting for? Head to zensports.com/sweepstakes for a full list of rules and earn a $100 no danger first wager while you're at it. Zen Sports, betting just got better. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789. No danger wager limited, plus 500 odds to qualify. Terms and conditions apply. A qualifying wager for a wager entry must have minimum odds for any leg in the entry of at least minus 250. American odds for clarity, a minus 251 does not qualify. Head to zensports.com/sweepstakes for all terms and conditions. Must be 21 or older in Tennessee to bet. And I do think they'll come out more on fire. They are going to be motivated. But if Tennessee can come with 30,000, 20 to 30,000, whatever it would be, however many fans, a whole bunch, a fourth of the stadium, even a fifth of the stadium, would be a huge, huge, huge turnout. And then you have that working for you. If you can jump out early, if you can play mistake-free football, which, again, that was something that they did at Georgia relatively well. Probably the best of the Heupel era. Was that Georgia?
It wasn't the crowd that got them in that one.
Yeah, there wasn't a bunch of false starts and garbage like that. If you can come out and play that clean game, this is winnable for Tennessee. And I don't know. I'm not going to definitively say Tennessee's going to go out here and kick their butt and kick the door down, and the Buckeyes are done for.
That would be cool. They can do that if they want.
Oh,
please do. And anxiety game would be awesome. I haven't had that since that LSU game.
Yeah, be one of the great moments in the history of Tennessee sports, much less just football, but sports in general. But I think if they do, it's going to be a grind them out. It's back and forth, like that Alabama game. I think it'll be kind of like that Alabama game. Mm-hmm. You got the lead. Then you gave it back. Then you had to snatch it back from him right there at the end with the Brazzle touchdown and all stuff. I think it'll be like that. And now, hey, this would be the legendary of all legendary wins. I'll go with the Vols in this one. We'll say 20-17. Super low scoring. And it's as it should be. It'll be a Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson finally starts finding it in that second half, and you know maybe you're down a touchdown at halftime, but in that second half, defense steps up. Sampson finds his feet, 2 touchdowns. You win 2017, something like that. Maybe it's like
this worked for the Alabama game, right? You picked Alabama. I mean, I picked Alabama. You picked Tennessee in that game, right?
That is correct. I believe. Sorry, you're going in and out my headphones.
So I'm trying to capture those same vibes then.
I think that now it might have been the same for the Georgia game. I don't totally remember, but it doesn't matter because it worked against Alabama.
Yeah.
We're channeling that that energy regardless. I'll say for everybody else that's watching, drop in with your score prediction if you want to comment. Elias says 20-14 Tennessee. Missed Ohio State field goals end up being decisive.
That could be a big factor for sure.
Yeah, special teams. Boo Carter maybe has a big play. I could see I guess I say this because it was a factor in that Michigan game too, but a big interception by a Jermon McCoy, a Will Brooks. I mean that was such a huge thing in that Vandy game. Was that Jermon McCoy interception? It was. Tennessee just rolled straight downhill after that, and I mean that in a good way. It was an avalanche after that interception, and Tennessee just kind of steamrolled them.
I will say Jermon McCoy. We talked a lot about Jeremiah Smith and how good he is. Jermon McCoy is matched up against Ryan Williams. Went one-on-one with him, made that great interception in the end zone, and really kept him in check. He really only caught underneath stuff. So he's played against one of the most talented players in the nation, and more than held his own. So McCoy can be up to the challenge. I still think Smith's going to make plays. He's too good not to, no matter how good the defensive player covering him is. But McCoy has the ability to really give that guy some problems.
No doubt about it, and that could be such a big decider there. Jamad got named an All-American today. Thankfully, getting his due for the season that he's had, and that was a massive part of that Alabama game, and man, that could be a difference maker. And the fact that they don't necessarily have that game-breaking tight end, like that really scared me when the specter of Penn State was on the table. Like Tyler Warren, that's their game breaker, dude.
That's a bad matchup for Tennessee.
Yeah, exactly. At least here, it's kind of your like Alabama. It's your Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith, more than it is a tight end who will just break your back across the middle.
And Ohio State can still attack the middle of the field, but
no doubt. And I would if I was them. Or maybe Ryan Day will just be an absolute bonehead like he was against Michigan.
And that is on the table. He's got
you never know.
Chip Kelly, his old college coach, and calling plays for him, and they don't seem to be really on the same page. And Chip Kelly's magic isn't quite the same as it was back in those Oregon days when he had such a fast and talented roster. Maybe, who knows? Everybody thinks they're going to go air it out, right? Like we all think that. That's all that everybody's been talking about. Like there's no way they use the same game plan as they did against Michigan. Why would you do that? What if they do though? I mean, what if they just go right? They're like, no, we're gonna stay with it. It's gonna be cold. That's how we're gonna win this game.
Yes, I mean, it's seriously. What if Nico finally? I mean, you saw stripes of this in that Vandy game. What if he finally puts it together? What if this is the game where he just, here it is. It's like, like Dalton Connect against Auburn last year, where you're down 10 late in the second half, and then just all of a sudden, oh wait, we got the best dude on the floor right here. And then suddenly you just have a performance like that. Maybe that combined with Sampson, and like, Lord knows, football's a funny game. Big Ten Jeff, of course, in here, he chooses Ohio State, 28-13. Master Sergeant, maybe another Ohio State fan, or just a very pessimistic Tennessee fan. 38-17 Buckeyes. Chris says 31-24 Vols. And Cromez says 30-24 Tennessee. So I think Ohio State comes out hot, but Tennessee's defense settles in and takes over. I definitely hope so. Ryan says 24-21 Tennessee. Speak it into existence. This is the exact setup for one of the most sensational moments in the history of Tennessee sports. It would just be so crazy. So hey, let's go out.
One other thing that Tennessee cannot do in the penalties, and this isn't just false starts.
Yeah.
And pre-snap penalties. That goes without saying. You cannot have these crazy holding calls constantly from your offensive line that are away from the ball that don't really impact the play. Once the play's past you, just you got to know when to let go and when to give up on the play. And unless the quarterback is about to get killed, at which point you have to hold to give yourself another down and to not get your quarterback killed. It's the only time I understand those penalties, but these ones when you're holding on a screen pass and you're on the other side of the field, like what? That's dumb. You cannot do that stuff. You can't have face mask penalties. You can't have late hits, personal fouls. And I love the way Omar Norman Lott plays the game. I love the way he plays, but man, you gotta dial it back just a little bit. You cannot go over the edge and cost yourself, because that's the worst thing that can happen is 3rd and 12 and you stop them and you give them a first down because it's roughing the passer or something like that. Just play smart. You got to play smart on the road to win.
Yes. You have to. And no better time than now.